everyone, I'm Lien and I'm so happy to be back on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel today. Today I am sharing two very different cards using all the sparkle stamp set that came out in the Meraki Craftober release. And this is that All the Sparkle stamp set. It's a layering stamp that makes 5 different gemstones, and it's really unique and super beautiful when it's all stamped out. You can see the guide there on the back that tells you how to line up all the different layers. And I am going to show you how to stamp one of the stamps, or one of the gems rather, because some of these gems have 5 or even 6 layers. And as you know, most of the ink cubes or ink ranges go from light to dark in only 4 ink colors. So you have to be a little bit creative when stamping these 6-layered gems out. And I'm showing you 2 ways to do this. And the first one is to start out by stamping second generation stamping. So I stamp out the color first on a scrap piece of paper and then stamp it out onto my actual paper. I do this a couple of times to get a little bit more visible ink, but it's still lighter than the color would be if I'd stamped it normally, like I'm doing right now. So the difference between these two is quite big, but that gives you an extra layer. Now I'm lining up all these other layers, and I am just still stamping with the lightest ink here. So this is still Mint from Pinkfresh Studio. That's the lightest shade in this range of greens. Now I've moved up to the second lightest ink, and then the third lightest ink, or the second darkest, the third ink in the range. And I am stamping this a couple of times. So I am doing some double stamping here, some triple stamping even, and I am just working at it until the color is as dark as I want it to be. And I do the same with the subsequent layers. So I stamp a couple of times until the color is as dark as I want it to be, and then I move on to the darkest shade in the ink range. So just double stamping or second generation stamping will get you more layers out of your ink cubes. Now, I spent ages stamping all of these gems out. I stamped so many of them, and I'm making a shaker card with them. Started out by die cutting a panel with the Dance With Me mini slimline die by Crafty Meraki, and I am folding over a piece of acetate over that. So I'm basically wrapping it up in acetate. I'm sealing 3 of the edges, leaving 1 edge open. And I did cut this panel down to fit onto an A2 sized card. So this will go edge to edge horizontally on this card, because it's a landscape card, not a portrait card. And I am just filling this up with all of these gems. It's really fun and colorful. And I'm also adding in some sequins and some glitter to add more sparkle to this. And yes, you can absolutely fill these edge-to-edge shakers with glitter. It won't spill out. There's no way this can creep out of your edges. You are basically wrapping the entire thing in plastic, so there's no way any of your glitter will escape. For my sentiment, I die cut this layered hugs die, also by Crafty Meraki, and I die cut it 4 times out of thick white cardstock, or 3 times, I'm not sure, and once out of purple cardstock. And I'm layering that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue, and then I can do some ink blending to make this an ombre sentiment. I'm using the Regal Kiss ink by Pinkfresh Studio for this. It's a really deep, rich purple that's perfect for things like this. And I'm just blending it on with a blending brush. That will add some depth and interest to this sentiment. Now, to assemble this card, I am using some double-sided tape because some of these edges have that plastic, that acetate on them. So this is the easiest way I find to adhere this. You can also use foam tape if you want to add dimension to this. And I'm just covering this in double-sided tape and then adhering that to my top folding landscape, my top folding landscape card base. And while I'm making this, I am playing around with it, making sure all the sequins and all the gems shake around, and then I can add my sentiment on top. I am using glossy accents for this because it's a really strong glue that adheres well on slick surfaces. So I adhered the shadow layer first that I cut out of holographic gold cardstock, and then I'm popping in that purple ombre sentiment. For a matching envelope, I decided to make one out of vellum. I really like vellum envelopes. I think they're really special, but obviously, the recipient will see the card through the envelope before they open it. If you don't want that, but you want the cute feeling of the vellum envelope, you can just pop an extra piece of cardstock in the front of your card to make sure the recipient doesn't see it through the vellum, but I kind of like it. I'm just reinforcing the score lines that I made with the We Are Memory Keepers 1 through 3 punch board, and then I can assemble this envelope with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue. This glue is actually a great adhesive for vellum, for regular vellum. For this colored vellum, it doesn't do great. It shows through quite obviously, but I don't mind. No one expects me to adhere envelopes with magic, so it's fine if the adhesive shows through. And this is the finished card, but there's another one coming up. I really like the detail in the background from that mini Slimline die though. Okay, for my next card, I'm making a clean and simple one, quite different from the first one. But I am also showing you another way to step up your layering stamps. Now, the first tip is mass production. When you're using layering stamps, I highly recommend you do some mass producing with them because it saves you time in the long run. So I cut a couple of pieces of cardstock to the same size. I'm making sure they are square, but they don't have to be perfectly square. Just make sure your stamp fits on them 4 times. And I am stamping those in all the colors I want to use for this card, but you could make more, obviously. And then I am lining up the second layer. So I stamp all the first layers first, line up the second layer, and that will line it up perfectly for all of the little gems that you stamped. So I'm speeding through this process because I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, rotating that square, lining up all of the layers, and I'm stamping all 4 of the layers on all of the colors first. Then I leave that 4th layer stamp in, and now I am stamping with Versamark ink, or any clear embossing ink will work here. And I will add some embossing powder to that final layer of the stamp set. And this is just some clear sparkle embossing powder from Wow. It's gorgeous, and I figured it would fit perfectly with these gems. I quickly fussy cut out these gems, lined them up on my grid mat, and then I picked them up with some press and seal, and this will keep them in place nicely. You see, I put them in place on top of my white panel there, and that will let me line up the sentiment perfectly. I stamped that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I will also add some clear embossing powder to this, so it will add a nice glossy finish to the sentiment. To assemble this card, I put a piece of cardboard as some dimension to the back of this panel, and then I can adhere that again with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue to my top folding white note card. I put foam squares behind all of these gems, and then I can press them down all together with the press and seal on top of my card. And I can just fiddle around with a couple of them that are a little bit skewed from putting the press and seal over them, or I didn't line them up perfectly first, but that's a lot easier to do than lining them up all separately. So the press and seal is a great thing for this. Again, I am just making a super simple matching envelope. This is just some patterned paper that I had lying around, but it had some foil details and it had diamond shapes, so I figured it fit the card. I'm just adhering that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue, and that will finish up my second project. Now, I really, really love this stamp set, and it's super unique. I haven't seen many gems stamps around, and I think it's perfect for birthday cards or for fun little fabulous cards for your fabulous friends. I think it's really fun. I hope you like my cards and I hope you like this stamp set. It's the All the Sparkle stamp set by Crafty Meraki, and I think it's just gorgeous. You can do so many designs with these. You can just make cards that are super precious or for precious people. I really like this shaker card and I really like making it with layering stamps because whenever I do layering stamps, as I mentioned in the video, I love doing mass producing. And of course, I really love the Clean and Simple card as well. It's a really fun design that you can do with any small stamps, but I especially love it with these layering stamps. The colors are so bold and the sparkle on the gems is a really nice finishing touch. I hope you like these cards as much as I do. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. Definitely leave any questions you might have also in the comments. I check on these regularly and I will get back to you as soon as possible. All the products I used will be listed in the description below. I might not list all the inks because I used literally every ink from the Pinkfresh studio line, I think. And yeah, but everything else will be listed below, so you can check those out as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.